Hello from wherever in the world you're joining us today. Welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle. We're thrilled to have you with us as we explore concepts of lands and attractions that never quite made it into the Disney parks, and we'll share our own ideas on what we'd create if we were the Imagineers.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I
Hello and welcome to the show. I can't say my words tonight.
You can't speak today.
I can't.
It's all like jet lag here.
This is not going to go well for the rest of the show.
We need a translator. We need like some subtitles or something better.
Yeah, I don't have any of those, unfortunately. How are you all?
It's Wednesday evening, which means we are more than 50% through the working week for me.
Yeah.
And that is good.
Yeah.
I'm 75% there this week.
Oh.
You off Friday?
We're off on Friday. Fly out on Friday at 12 noonish.
Amazing.
wow.
That's so cool. Robin's only just got back.
Oh no, let's not talk about that.
But yeah, gosh, you're flying away to the
Off to
West
San
Coast.
Francisco. Yeah, West
Amazing.
Coast start,
cool.
and then off to Hawaii on the 13th. So,
Oh, it's hard life, isn't it?
yeah, I know. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to go and enjoy
Right,
these places.
Go and check out Ireland.
If you ever need anyone to carry the bags, you know, I'm
If you're room in your suitcase.
happy.
You can come and do that, John, but you'll have to pay for your own ticket. So
Yeah.
it'll just be,
That's a shame.
yeah.
Oh dear.
So before we dive into today's show, we do want to take a moment to acknowledge something very important that's happening over in Florida right now, and that is the impact that Hurricane Milton is currently going to be having on the majority of Florida, including Walt Disney World. We've got many of our friends, and we know there's lots of locals and cast members and visitors that are in the storm's path, and our thoughts are with all of you. See, I still can't say my words. We do hope everyone stays safe and follows any local authority advice, and that you all take care of one another.
Yeah.
So be kind to each other, people, because it's a bit.
Yeah.
It's looking a bit rough. I've been watching. I spent most of today with on in the background some sort of news live, Fox, Wish, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Some of those webcams are getting a bit spicy. So yeah, definitely thinking about everyone over there.
Yeah, definitely.
Had a few chats with a few people to make sure they're okay and they've got plans. Everyone seems to be all over it, so I'm sure it's going to be a rough 24 hours.
But not too much damage.
The thing that gets me, I was really fortunate at one of my last driving lessons today. It's with somebody who's a travel agent, and she was actually very, very concerned for a family from the UK who had been offered a flight to Atlanta and declined it, then being offered a flight indirect somewhere, but they couldn't get premium economy, so declined it, and so they're now still in Orlando rather than allowing themselves to get out of it, and they're now stuck there until at least Sunday. And I'm thinking, hang on, help yourself, guys. You know, I know it's a very British thing at times, but you know, take the advice. I think you said it perfectly there, Becca. Is actually follow the advice from the people who actually know what it feels like to be in a hurricane. We don't, you know, we just sit, we watch it. You know, I remember the days of watching, was it Shepard Smith on Fox when he was hurricane hunting, and he would be on the roof of somewhere as the hurricane's coming in. He's struggling to stand up. It was cracking viewing, but goodness me, talk about putting yourself really in the line of fire. And you know, my heart goes out to everybody, not just those in Orlando, but those certainly on that West Coast again.
Yeah, Anna Maria Island, Marco Island, all of that area just looks like it's going to get such a battering. And I know the engineering is designed to withstand some of that, but the infrastructure maybe isn't in terms of power and all of that stuff. So I say it's, as Winnie the Pooh would say, it's a blustery day.
Yes,
indeed. But I mean, me and Ben were out there in 2016 during Hurricane Matthew, and Disney and the authorities, they've been through this before, they've done it before, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So just listen to them and
Have
follow
you been
their
there in a
advice.
hurricane, John?
No.
2019, did you miss it?
We flew out just as it was approaching, so we ended up, we took a detour.
I can't remember which it was.
I think we flew out of Miami, and we ended up taking this big detour to avoid it. And it was just like it was such a strange route to actually be on a plane. And even the pilot made mention of the fact that this is one of the last flights that are actually going to be out of the airport, as it's not going to be safe for a few days.
Yeah. What about you, Simon? Have you been there when there's been a hurricane?
No, luckily we've never.
Summer,
No, so yeah, it's quite rare that we would go in the July to August. I think we've been the other side of them when they've hit in September. But this is sort of prime time when we would be going. So, but obviously we've got different plans this year. But we've always managed to just be outside of the window when they've been on. But yeah, it's concerning with all the friends that we've got living there. That I think is the first time we've seen that element of concern about it from some of them that are living there. So yeah, hopefully it. I know it's quite a slow moving beast, this one. So.
He's jittering around as well. It's not consistent. So I had a conversation with Zach Brown yesterday just to make sure he was okay, and he
was very laid back about it when I messaged him. He was like, we're all fine, we're sorted.
He's fine. Zach is Zach, and so he doesn't. And just about an hour ago, he sent me a really funny reel, which was about making cheese s'mores. Which is like, rather than like you have graham cracker s'mores, which are like chocolate and marshmallow and cracker, and he sent me one which was cheese, which is like you melt a Baby Bell and you put it in a cracker with some chutney. And I said to him, that's amazing, you can even do that if you haven't got any power, as long as you've got a flame. I hope you've got the supplies. He's like, I've got all the supplies. So Zach being Zach, he's just taking this in a very laid back way. But I've checked in with some friends, I've checked in with him, I've checked in with Jason and a few others. They've all got their supplies, they've all got their plan.
It was quite nice. I messaged Katie as well. Her first message back to me: thank you for getting in touch. It's okay. We've got alcohol. We're sorted.
Right.
It's just like, there you go.
I don't think any of them are taking it flippant. They're not being flippant about it, but they have a structured plan, and they're given lots of advice and they follow it, and that's the best way to do this. So over the next 24 hours, we'll be watching. When I get up tomorrow morning, it's the first thing I'm going to be doing is checking in and making sure everyone's okay. So.
I think the other thing to point out as well, and if you're in the UK, if you haven't got access to American TV channels on your TV, the amount of people on YouTube who are
YouTube's your friend.
Who are actually streaming stuff. I find it quite distasteful in a way that so many people are really, the storm chasers and things like that.
Yeah,
it's really, for me, it's quite heartbreaking because it's an area that we know and that we love, and you're actually watching people basically making a few quid out of this by actually going live.
TikTok's the same. It's full of it, but you can actually watch things like Wesh and Fox 35 and stuff on YouTube live. So if you want to watch it and you haven't got the access to a VPN to be able to watch it, then you can just stick it on YouTube.
I'm just aware the numbers that some of these people have got who are watching this. It's like crazy numbers. Someone with 94,000 people watching.
What?
A live stream.
Really?
Yeah.
Off what? Is that the one in Margaritaville?
On YouTube? I don't know.
It's not the one of the Fort Myers Margaritaville resort that everyone's been showing. Might be.
Don't know, but it doesn't look good. I'll put it that way. It's on the West Coast.
A little bit grey and blustery.
It's already blustery, yeah. Not good. But anyway.
Give it a day and we'll be in a different place.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Hopefully not physically.
Let's see if we can't distract everyone for the next hour or so.
A little bit of escapism always does you the world of good. And again, we've come up against another topic on a Wednesday, which again follows on perfectly from where we left off last week.
We're getting good at this.
Well, you'd have thought, even as I mentioned it last week, it was that bit of fabulous, because it just flows perfectly from where we were talking about with Epcot. and it's a topic again that I think a lot of us really love to get our teeth into. There's a lot of talk about Imagineering. There's a lot of talk about probably budgets at the time when things were proposed as well. So it could go anywhere. It really could.
Is that the TV in your house, John?
No.
No, I suspect it's probably Robin chatting in the background here.
It's Robin,
even though my door's nearly closed.
Yeah, it's Robin.
That's so funny.
I did wonder.
I was like, what's the noise? It's Robin chuntering. Go on, Becca, where are we starting?
So, where do we... Well, as we finished in Epcot last week, should we start in Epcot this week?
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Shall we start with some of those Epcot pavilions that have been
Shelved.
rumoured and shelved over the years? What would we put in?
Yeah, there's a
Could
couple.
we agree with any of them?
Should we skirt across Iran and Israel at the moment and keep moving swiftly because they're there and Russia. Let's keep moving. I didn't see North Korea, but it might be there, but I don't know.
Let's start World War
Maybe
III
hit some of those South American countries.
Let's go to Costa Rica because that seems a little safer.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, do
you know what though? The Costa Rica pavilion, when you read the detail of what it was going to be, looks very much like what they're going to put into Animal Kingdom for like the Encanto stuff. I know it's not Costa Rica, but it does look remarkably similar.
Looking through a lot of these, I thought, so in Disney, no idea ever really gets shelved, just gets pushed back and used at a later date because a lot of these are now being put up in other places or changed and tweaked slightly. It certainly feels like it anyway.
So where else did you see that there was?
Did you read the one where I think it was proposed that they were basically going to make sort of a second loop round sort of from where the bridge rises, and you could actually put another walkway in round the back of the current countries, and so people were thinking, oh, we could do that, but then I think somebody somewhere down the line asked the question: one, where are you getting the space from? And two, how are you going to actually direct people and split into two quadrants? It just wouldn't work.
I suppose you could have done it like two Mickey ears and had two loops either side. So one that comes out by the bridge. See, this is what I'd have done. Where the bridge opens up for the stuff coming through.
Yeah.
You could have put a big like circular loop with a couple of pavilions on it, and then an international gateway, because obviously half the stuff wasn't there back then. You could have done a big circular loop, and where the France stuff extension was, you could have put it there. And you could have put two more pavilions on each of those, and then the World Showcase Lagoon would have looked like a big Mickey head because it had 2 ears on it. Which
would have been the biggest hidden Mickey.
But you could have probably fit another 4 pavilions in.
Yeah,
could have done that. And then it's like a self-circulating loop. You're not going to get lost. You're going to walk around it and come back to where you were, maybe.
So I still think the one that is really noticeable that it's missing is the Equatorial Africa spot, which is where that refreshment outpost. Because that corner of that whole World Showcase feels like it's half finished.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though that they planned to build that in 1979, the fact that they've just still done nothing with that area, despite adding all these other rides and doing all these other changes, they've still not made any changes there. I think that would have been it would have been really good to have seen that beyond just what's there. Because it's almost like you get a hint of it with the stores that are there, and then it's like, oh, there's nothing behind, just forest greenery, just to hide it.
Do you ever think
that's the biggest miss out of all of it, to have had something just there? It still feels half finished.
The amount of culture and African culture they could have put in an African pavilion would have been amazing. The music, the artwork, the clothing, the colours.
They were supposed to work with the Roots author, weren't they, for Equatorial Africa, for him to be part of that as an advisory role, so that they actually they bring an element of realism and reality to that as a land. But yeah, I just think it's that feels like such a half-finished corner of the showcase.
It is.
It's a weird spot, isn't it? Because you kind of drift through, and a few people stop and they buy drinks. Some kids stop and play with the instruments that I kind of always go, oh, please use some sanitizer gel afterwards. And then there's just not a lot there. But
they'll usually put something at the refreshment outpost for the festivals.
Yeah,
I know,
but
there's so much space actually.
Yeah.
In the corner. You've got the face painting thing, and then you've got
why?
a couple of, and you've got a couple of storefronts that don't open, but they're themed.
Yeah.
And then you've got some like they get the festival booth and things there.
Have you ever wondered though? And this is thinking about it. It must be on somebody. It must be on a list somewhere every single year.
There
Of
must
like
be the master
park improvements. Let's do something this year with that area, right? And every year, does it just come up and go, nah, we'll just leave it. We'll leave the shops in. We're making enough money from that. That'll do for now.
The thing that killed it in the first place was always the Epcot sponsorship model. So the fact that those pavilions were always sponsored by those countries.
Yeah.
The Equatorial Africa idea was not kind of one single African country. It was supposed to be representative of African culture generally, East and West. And I think that proved difficult as to how they're ever going to negotiate sponsorship and support. Yeah. And then I think there was a lot of political unrest in those countries and states as well that meant that it was kind of compounded by the reality of the political situation in Africa that just meant that this thing's never getting off the ground. It's a shame. But if you've got African states that are poorer countries and poorer nations, how will you ever get representation in the pavilion if the model works on a sponsorship arrangement?
And you also, I think we touched upon it last week with what's happening currently in the Morocco pavilion, where it's been taken back in house. The Moroccan government won't pay any more towards it, and yet they can't get rid of it because actually culturally, it's deeply important to be in the park. So by Disney taking it in house, they've changed the mosaic and things like that, but they're missing out on that opportunity to actually widen it up. Why not take the hit and not take the sponsorship and actually put something in, like we said, which culturally comes from countries that won't be able to afford it, and you're therefore you're actually able to plus the park in a positive way. I don't get it. I don't understand it, because for me it'd be a no-brainer to have something like that in, and then don't get me started on, like I said, you could end up with Brazil, Spain, which actually would then, if you put them into Epcot.
So the one thing
which is forever rumored.
Yeah.
The one
bit we did get with the African stuff is though that all of the research and kind of base of the design ended up being part of Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
So they took all of that knowledge and education they learned by looking, because I think historically that was the Equatorial Africa was always the pavilion that came closest but never made it. There's loads of others, but the Equatorial Africa one was that close. They'd made the films for the shows. They bought artwork for it. They'd even had the model that was on display at the opening celebrations for Epcot. And then it just never made it over the line. It was that last bit of how do we get sponsorship and actually finish building it. But yeah, it's good that they transferred that. That thing about stuff getting shelved and it's never really dead. Very much the case with that. It became part of Africa.
You wonder whether in the future they'll revisit that in terms of the representation of diversity around World Showcase.
Yeah.
It's slim. Just going to say, thinking about what's currently there.
Heavily European focused, I think we'll call it.
I would say that it isn't very diverse. And I think that would be an amazing addition in terms of just representation, global majority and all of those things. That would be a really, really positive move. So come on, Disney, get your act together and start getting some more diversity around World Showcase. I think we would all welcome it. And especially Morocco obviously is an African country, but it's very unique in comparison to that Equatorial Africa.
I think that's a really good one.
I think it would be a bit of a no-brainer, really. and very much welcomed by many, many people. I think you could probably do something with the Caribbean as well. You could do some Caribbean representation. Pick a couple of, really amazing Caribbean, and even north of the South America section. When you've got, French Guiana, you've got Uruguay, Venezuela,
Argentina.
Yeah, that's slightly further down, but yeah.
We could do some Southern America, Southern America,
or Costa Rica. All of that end section.
They did propose a Puerto Rico one, then, didn't they? Which is a Caribbean archipelago. I know it's not in the same way because it is
kind of attached to America.
Yeah.
But I think it when you look at what's there, it's great. You get a cross section of some countries. There's a the global majority of the world is not represented, and I think that there's opportunity to grow that and to do something exciting. So, but in the other countries, there supposed to be something in Japan, some bullet train simulator as well. They had that on the.
That would have been easy to put in as well, wouldn't it?
That would have been great.
Yeah.
So it was meant to go in the back of the Japan pavilion, and I was reading about it the other day when I was prepping, and it was like meant to be. The only thing I can imagine it would be like is that bit in the Rise of the Resistance where you get in the first bit where you stand and you feel like you're in the transport ship, and it's got big screens, and it was meant to feel like you're on a bullet train. Which would be really cool, and it probably wouldn't have taken up that much space. I suppose they've added a few other things since then. But
there's if you go to York Railway Museum, there is a bullet train that's got a little film.
It's not sublime to ridiculous.
It's not quite on the simulator sort of stuff, but actually it is there. They could have just chucked that in at the back of the pavilion. It would have worked a treat.
I think it would have been fascinating.
Maybe if you email National Railway Museum, I'll just send her an email. Epcot needs your bullet train. There we go, we'll be sorted.
Right to the London Transport Museum shortly. So,
cheap,
do you mind sending a double-decker bus on steam train?
It's dead cheap. We'll just chuck it on a boat, send it across, Epcot sorted instantly.
Definitely.
Well, the other one that was similar, right, was they were going to build the Rhine River cruise ride in Germany, which even the doors at the very back of the pavilion are there. And they never saw that through either.
There's a recurring theme here, isn't there? I think this is the bit that it becomes quite amusing after a while.
Heather, I love your comment. However, we did all complain about the Stargate and the tacos. I'm not sure that a Sydney Opera House is going to help with views as cool as it would be.
Oh dear!
Oh, wouldn't it be cool though to be able to have that and then have a mini opera house? They could change. They could put it in the bit of the lagoon next to France, and make Impressions to France the Sydney Opera House. That's fun.
Just get rid of the French pavilion altogether. Just make it more worldwide coverage.
Yeah, right.
Oh dear, that wouldn't go down well. That wouldn't go down well with the French, would it? I think Australia would be
a really cool pavilion to have actually, because there's such a breadth of ecosystems, and you could really tie it in with some of the other messaging that comes around with Disney. I also think there's opportunity for an Australia area in Animal Kingdom. I think that would be very cool without all the deadly stuff. That can stay in Australia.
So no giant spiders and
all the stuff that's going to kill me can stay in Australia.
There's enough dodgy, dangerous stuff living in Florida anyway, without introducing some Australian species just into the mix as well.
Can you imagine the growth that would happen, that genetically modified spider or crocodile that might end up. But I think can
I just have a quick shout out in the chat, because CNR Bloomers have joined us. Currently holed up at All Star Movies. So again, stay safe, guys. We really appreciate you joining us. It's it is one of those times when you're on the cusp of a hurricane arriving. To come and listen to a show like this is it's appreciated. But stay safe, and we'll see you on the other side. I think it's probably the best description of it.
Hope we can give you a bit of a diversion for
that's exactly it. Yeah.
But anything else in the UK? I mean, we can talk about the UK.
The UK. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Hours.
we didn't go over the top on this last week, and I think this is really worthy of saying, because I know fine well that, again, I'll promote another channel with Matt and Crystal, with Married to a Disney Addict and stuff like that. So Claire and I are on an upcoming podcast of theirs where we go into that sort of randomization of Imagineering ourselves, and actually the Mary Poppins attraction at the very back of the pavilion. I don't know whether it was where we were actually stood, Claire, at the time, but you were looking from the left-hand side of the doors of the Rose and Crown.
Where they put the new barrier up. The new meet and greet barrier at the Rose and Crown.
But the one that was only there for us.
Yeah, right. The one near the entrance to the dining room. So
But if you look, the line of sight from there, and you just get a little glimpse of the bandstand on the left-hand side, but you're looking right into the very back of that pavilion, would be an absolutely perfect place for something really simple that's Mary Poppins themed. And it wouldn't actually impact on any part of the park. You just basically leave up the line of trees that are at the very back of the UK pavilion. You could put whatever you want in just behind. There is space because we actually went and had a look. And you then just remove the trees. Obviously, go and replant them somewhere else. Don't just chop them down. Just saying, that's my eco bit for the day. But it then opens it up again. But it would then invite people right into that back part of the UK pavilion. And I think Claire and I think we had this sorted for their podcast. It just was superb.
So the suggestion we had was that the entrance to that area is like, in Mary Poppins where Bert is drawing on the pavement with his chalk. So it's like you're stepping into the chalk drawing. So then all of the facades and everything that are beyond that point look like they've been drawn. And you could have the penguins, you could have the tea room, and you could have the merry-go-round that Mary and Bert ride on. But the scenery that you see would look like it's been chalk drawn. And like the costumes, the cast members could be like chalk drawn costumes. So actually you're stepping in to the chalk drawing just as Mary, Bert and the kids did. And then that's the bit that you see. So you're going into Jolly Holiday mode. Through that
you started now. You've got the songs gone in my head already. Now that's it.
I think it would be so cool, and you could almost tie in with Mary Poppins Returns in terms of those bits. But I just think because that effect is in that second film as well. I just think it would be so cool. And as you say, John, the line is there that you could easily build behind it without disturbing anything at all.
I think we also said, that little part of the part where they walk into the park in the film. And it's got that the beautiful gates, and if you watch the musical, the Mary Poppins the musical, it's got a real massive play on the actual the symbolism of the gates and actually stepping into the park. And the gates are nigh on there. If you look at the way that the wall behind the trees is actually there.
There's wrought iron behind the trees.
It's there. You could actually it wouldn't cost a lot of money. I think it'd be a beautiful attraction.
Yeah, it would. But it wouldn't be as enormous a project as some of the other things that we've seen built.
Yeah.
And I think it would be an amazing addition to that area.
They were originally, this was back when they were designing it, that was going to have like a Thames River cruise. It would have been that the whole UK pavilion would have looked completely different.
Yeah.
I'm glad
but I think do that.
Yeah. I think it was the fact that the storyline, there wasn't really a proper storyline, and I think it was going to replicate things like Big Ben and the Thames, and you just start to look like you've picked elements out of Peter Pan's Flight, and it's like, I don't think there was that big a storyline that they could find that would be a meaningful thing. It was not like, unless you're going to put Peter Pan in there, which you've already got a ride for that. I don't think there's anything else they could really do with it, and I think that's why that was scrapped. But I think it's such a shame that Mary Poppins. I was looking forward to that addition. That was one of those that when it was announced at the D23 that year, it was like this will be great to get something else.
I think that was 2019. I think they announced that, and it made sense. I remember it's one of our very early sort of additional shows that we did.
Was the D23 show,
and it actually made an awful lot of sense. And you're thinking, what a great idea, what a great addition. And again, it's just one of them things that gets put to one side, ignored, and hopefully at some point, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but at some point we'll actually be able to see that, and it maybe will be Becca, one of those that just doesn't go away. It just gets sidelined for a while, and then obviously once the finance and the wherewithal comes around, it'll actually it'll be there and in place. And I'm with Heather in the chat there. Yeah, it would make everyone quite happy to see it, and it's just like one of those iconic things that you kind of come to, and you really begin to believe that it would plus the park.
I hold out hope. Haunted Mansion took them 10 years to sort out.
Yeah.
And then build.
Well, I hold out hope that if they're going to lose the Muppets from Hollywood Studios for the Monsters Inc. coaster, Becca, I'm really hoping that your idea of putting Muppets Christmas Carol seasonally in the back of the UK
Oh yeah.
I need
Scrooge,
that.
and it's just so perfectly set out for Muppets Christmas Carol. You could do a bit of dry ice and some lights and
Bit of
music.
singing.
Someone reading Christmas Carol seasonally from the pavilion.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
See,
It would be good.
we're just
It's never
spending.
going to happen.
We're spending Disney money. That's it.
That wouldn't cost very much because that's just
That's just a couple of actors that they already have.
It's a seasonal overlay that they could do for the Christmas season.
Yeah, it would be good. That
Wouldn't take
Put it on the
much.
bandstand.
This is it. This is it. Play the tunes. They already own it all.
yeah.
It's just a no-brainer. I don't know. I actually don't know why they haven't done that.
Because they're frightened of promoting the Muppets. I'm going to have a rant, aren't I? Sorry, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go there. Yeah. They're fearful of giving Jim Henson Productions any more money and things like that. So their way of dealing with that is let's pretend the Muppets don't exist. Just saying, like.
It's a shame. I like that.
It is. I do.
Is there anything else we want to talk about Epcot? There's loads to talk about Epcot.
Okay,
You could talk about all the great stuff that would have been there. Quite why they never built the Matterhorn equivalent and put a Switzerland there, I'll never know, because that ride in Disneyland is a must ride.
That would have been so great.
It's such a brilliant ride, though.
Switzerland.
Right, but it is a bit of a.
It's a bone rattler, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So the other thing as well there, though, because if you go to the German pavilion and you get Werther's originals, that you go there, right? So if they put Switzerland in, you get everyone walking out of Epcot with like them big massive Toblerone bars, wouldn't you?
I thought you were going to say Swiss watches then, John.
No, I was more thinking
and
cheese.
And
I was thinking the Toblerones that you have to buy. You go to the airport and it's like you go to the airport shop and it's £10 for a Toblerone. You're thinking you're having a laugh, but it's that big massive bar of Toblerone, and nobody in the right mind but to go and buy one because obviously it's miles cheaper if you buy them out with the airport. But all the ones that they don't sell at the airports, they could have sent to that Swiss pavilion.
I don't even know if you can buy Toblerone in the US. I don't know if it's a thing.
Is it a thing? Let us
I have no
know.
idea.
Do you know what John is talking about when he says Toblerone?
Probably not. Probably most people don't know what I'm talking about. It's always a dangerous thing anyway.
Spaceship Earth. The fact that was meant to be closed and
redone.
Yeah,
and possibly.
That would have had a different ride as well. They planned that years ago. Not just they had like time races. It was about fast forwarding through history.
Is that a thrill ride?
Oh wow!
I don't know whether it was a thrill ride or not, but it was supposed to be quite a high tech thing. It was. I'd say it probably was going to be a thrill ride because it was about fast forwarding through history. But yeah. It gets glossed over because I don't think anybody ever wanted them to change Spaceship Earth, and even when they talked about it, that then got cancelled after the 2019 news. So
Yeah, that might have been a good move actually. Wendy's seen Toblerones in one of the UK stores, so even though they're from Switzerland. We do like them over here though.
This is true.
I just think that Spaceship Earth, I think we mentioned last week, there's so many different narrators, there's 3 different versions. Why do they not randomise it? That would be cool. But, that would just be my wish.
Yeah.
But where else, Becca? Take us somewhere else.
Well, I suppose the biggest one is over at Animal Kingdom, isn't it? With Beastly Kingdom.
Yeah.
That's probably the one that most people have heard of and most people know of.
I actually think that this, for me...
Forgotten land of Animal Kingdom, shall we call it?
Yeah. Yeah, and actually... I actually felt that you could see why it was proposed. Again, you're coming back to the thing of, like, for years... You know what? I'm trying to think of a polite way of saying this. Because it wasn't built, it then became that Camp Mickey mini bit. And so you're going into there and you always wondered quite why it was kind of detached so much from the park. And it really sort of, it would have fitted. And some of the bits, they were looking at, was it featuring good and evil creatures, right? So trying to balance out exactly what was going on, and looking at unicorns and
it was the original emphasis of the park was 3 types of areas. So it was animals and creatures that are real, animals and creatures that are extinct, and then animals and creatures from mythical origin, myth or legend. So I mean, I think the problem with Animal Kingdom was that they ran out of money. I think that was the distinct problem. That you saw that they put all of the concept art was there for all of that, but they just didn't. I think they spent most of the money planting out the other lands and making them look really realistic and also
really the infrastructure to support things like the safari, because you've got to have all of the barns, you've got to have all the growth and the feed fields and everything out the back, which I expect that probably costs more than the park bit.
Yeah, and I think that became, I think it probably became quite clear to them that they needed a big attraction ride to draw the crowds in, because I think when it first opened, it was, it wasn't even a half-day park. It got a really bad press when it first opened.
Because they canned all the other stuff as well, right? The Dino Land was an afterthought. That should have had like a boneyard exploration roller coaster in it. But I think Beastly Kingdom was almost going to be like a big land in that park that was going to have the big attractions. So I know they're going to have like a maze that was representing the good bit, which was the Quest of the Unicorn. And then the Dragon Tower roller coaster, which was kind of the evil side, and dining experiences and everything. So it was
dragons are evil.
Was it meant to be a Loch Ness? Was it meant to be a Loch Ness monster dining experience? I think it was going to be Loch Ness
dining. Was
it?
It was like there was a lot of stuff.
Was the dragon thing the thing that they pinched over took over to Universal?
So that was the thing, right? Was that they had all these Imagineers that were working on that. Right. And then they had to let a load of them go. And who was recruiting at the time? The park down the road at Universal. And
I remember hearing about this, that they went, but they took their intellectual property with them, which is their designs, and they went and took them up to
then put Dueling Dragons in.
Yeah, Dueling Dragons.
Oh, fabulous.
We benefit from it either way, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the one thing you have, though, is that if they hadn't have canned all of that bit, you wouldn't have had the Lion King show that went in there that's become a staple of that park.
Yeah.
Right.
This is
so
true.
It's like the offset of, it was a weird area that felt like it was like there's nothing in this entire chunk of the park other than some old tents that they've set up to host the Lion King show and a meet and greet with Mickey and Minnie in their safari outfits. So it was always like, a bit of it always felt like a big afterthought in that area. And I guess to a certain extent it was. None of the Imagineers wanted anything to do with the Lion King show because it was like done on a complete budget. They shipped those old floats over from an old Disneyland parade and made a show out of it. So it was amazing that they managed to establish a show that became so linked with Animal Kingdom as a park to the point that it's still there today.
And it's had its own theatre built. And
its own theatre built with more seating to accommodate more people because everybody wants to watch it.
Yeah.
Just shows, doesn't it, that a small what is seen to be not a great idea can actually just go, and people, guests will love it, whether Imagineers think it's good or not.
I think when they came and they were built, the suggestion about Avatar came along, and you got a lot of people like, well, what's Avatar got to do with Animal Kingdom? Yeah. And I think people had forgotten the original basis of the park, that there was always going to be an element of mythical creatures there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And therefore that Avatar land sits completely within that original Animal Kingdom idea. I think it was the right thing to be putting in that park. I don't know where else you would have put an Avatar land. Even the land itself and the planting and all of that scenery blends well with the general aesthetic of that as a whole park for me. So I think they did a really great job with expanding.
I think you're spot on with that.
But then I suppose when they get rid of Dinoland, that three elements of extinct and mythical and real will disappear as well.
Yeah, I think that's an inevitability now, isn't it? That they're moving more towards IP-based attractions, that everybody just wants that in the parks. I guess the only link back to the extinct element there is that you're putting an Indiana Jones ride in, right?
And Indiana Jones is that old. It belongs with the dinosaurs.
You got Harrison Ford because he's fossilized in the corner of the park.
Yeah. Don't need him in carbonite. We need him as a fossil. But
it's interesting though, because if you look at you talk about the fact that we're looking at mythical creatures as well, but even when they put in Expedition Everest, is actually including the Yeti, irrespective of whether it was the proper mechanical Yeti or the dancing Yeti, whatever it is in this day and age.
Disco Yeti, yeah.
Disco Yeti.
Yeah.
So you've got that. You mentioned about unicorns as well. Now, this is quite a thing. If you're ever in the massive car park at Animal Kingdom, but look for the names of the different parking zones, because there's still a unicorn section there as well. And that's where that relates totally back to Beastly Kingdom, and I think that's where if you it's a little bit of a nod and a little bit of a recognition of what should have been and never arrived. And I love this part of Disney history where they're not ashamed of it. There's always that little nod and that little bit of recognition that keep your eyes out. There's something still in all the parks. There's still that little bit where you can pick up that hidden detail that we know and love. But if you don't know it's there, because they don't come and tell you, but it is there. So
it's like
unicorn.
The facades on the outside of Animal Kingdom, as you're going in, they have obviously your real life creatures, but they also have a dragon on there and a couple of little.
I don't think I've ever noticed that.
If you have a look closely, there is a dragon on there.
Whereabouts?
On the actual sign as you're going into the park.
Oh, where it says Animal Kingdom?
Yeah. There's in the green.
Okay.
I think even in the metal silhouettes on some of the light fittings as well, there's mythical creatures on those. It's just the little tiny details that obviously lots of that was opening day already created, and they've never removed that since. It's just become part of the decor of the park.
Yeah.
I'll look at that in a couple of weeks. See you.
There we go. That's it. We're going to be bombarded with Claire's photos of things like this. You see, this is really good.
The thing is, the thing with all these Disney parks, right, is everybody always thinks to Beastly Kingdom, but I think the bigger bit that they never built was Western River Expedition in Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
Oh.
Which was going to be completely different to what became Big Thunder and Splash Mountain.
So what was that attraction supposed to be? Was that a river? Was it an extension of Rivers of America?
well, it was going to be a river expedition ride that you went on, but it was like a complete town that they were going to create as the Western River Expedition. It was going to be called. So yeah, it was. They never built it because when they had this idea, they opened Magic Kingdom and everybody rocked up and went, well, "Where the hell's the Pirates of the Caribbean ride? Why is that not here?" So
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Well, they'd made an assumption that, well, who would be interested in Pirates of the Caribbean in Florida because the Caribbean was right there. Nobody's interested in pirate stories, but everybody wanted that, so they had to invest the money to build the Pirates of the Caribbean ride before they could then look at what else they could build. But yeah, it was going to be Dry Gulch, which anybody that goes to Disneyland Paris will know that the Dry Gulch scene in Phantom Manor is based on that Western River Expedition town. It's supposed to be a kind of a ghoulish representation of what would have been Dry Gulch town that was part of Western River Expedition. So it's like that comes back to that thing of things are never truly dead in Imagineering world. They've just been shelved for another date, or
moved to a different place, or connected somehow with a thought.
They're put in the drawer for somebody else to come and find 10 years, 20 years down the line.
Yeah,
because I think as well was it a Mark Davis design originally? I'm just trying to think off the top of my head from when we did and so again it got to that high level of design and thought, and
it was supposed to be a Western version of a Pirates ride. That was the reason for it. It was like, build a Western ride on the east, build a Pirates ride on the west. But everybody was more interested clearly in the Pirates ride, and that thing's still there to this day, and it's all over the place now.
Yeah, how funny.
But he still would have had the same Rocky Mountain. It was going to have a Thunder Mesa mountain, and it was going to house a runaway mine train, and it was going to have a boat ride.
So that's where it actually, Big Thunder Mountain actually runs off the back of that. So when it wasn't built, like Tom Sawyer Island then becomes part of the park, and then obviously you're getting the raft part of it was originally meant to be part of the Western River Expedition.
And they're going to make quite a big thing out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? It was going to have walking trails around the mountain outcrop within the Indian villages like you see on the railroad. It was going to have those dotted around that you could walk and explore to. Mule rides, which I don't know how that would have ever really worked in the Disney park, but like mule rides as well. So, yeah, it was just,
Instead, we're getting cow.
Yeah. And I think that's the funniest side of this, because you're actually looking back at that original design and you think about it. Now, in this era, that would be completely leveled and taken back to,
Dust.
and if they'd put it in there, it would have been a massive mistake. I was just seeing here, one of the things that, although it doesn't actually have any relation, and we talk about Expedition Everest earlier, but that backward segment of the ride was actually planned as part of what was going in with the Western River Expedition, probably similar to what turned up in the Norway Pavilion in Epcot, where you had the boat coming backwards at that certain point. So again, reinvention of certain elements of it in different parks in different times, and it's lovely because it's still alive in in Paris, in Orlando, wherever. But I think Mark Davis was onto something there, Simon.
Yeah, you don't want to dwell too much on some of it either, but I think there was always a slight negative view even back then that creating this Western River Expedition was going to be a little bit sensitive in terms of its cultural representation. I think they've seen it as being
that was a very nice way of describing it there. Like, should we move swiftly on from that, because I think we got away with that one. And
what about some of the? I was going to ask about some of the resorts that never happened, because there was a whole pile of resorts around World Showcase Lagoon. There was a Venetian. I think there was an Iranian one. Again, we'll scoot over that. There was a whole load of stuff that never came about, wasn't there?
Yeah, was there an Egyptian one as well?
Yeah. And you wonder why they haven't revisited that, because there's that gap between contemporary and the TTC, which, quite frankly, it'd be quite nice if you could walk all the way around.
Would.
So I'd heard that was never built because the land was unsuitable for building on.
Okay, well, isn't that generally Florida?
Yeah. In particular, that was where they were going to build, rather than the Grand Floridian, they were going to build on that plot of land.
Okay.
And they ended up building the Grand Floridian spot first because that just wasn't really suitable for them to start to build any sort of foundational base.
I've always wondered why there was nothing there, because there's just like a boggy bit, isn't there? And maybe that's exactly why. But yeah, you think they could have, because Wilderness Lodge sits so far back on the other side of the water. You could actually put something facing facing Seven Seas Lagoon. But maybe there's just not the base where they dug out for some of the water to go. Isn't suitable.
Yeah, I think some of those ideas were taken elsewhere, right? I think the notion of a Venetian resort, I think we all know where that one ended up. There was only one other place outside of Disney that could end up.
Yes. Again,
It's
I
on the
wonder if
strip
the
in
Imagineers.
Vegas, right?
Yeah, I wonder if the Imagineers got paid handsomely for their ideas.
Yeah,
I
but you also wonder with that same sort of principle, because you talk about the Egyptian hotel and things like that, would it actually have turned into visually something that's very similar to what you would see in Vegas, and would that have gone against sort of certainly that whole sort of sight line as you arrive within any Disney hotel, and it would just end up being like a collection of just like random buildings that just like jar on the eye, you know.
When you look at the Grand Floridian next to the new Polynesian
the new
building,
tower,
and then then the Poly, and then you look over at the toaster in the other side. They don't really gel to a Bay Lake Tower. I mean, nothing really goes together. The difference is that I suppose those original three resorts are facing the nearest parts of their own compadres of the Magic Kingdom. So you Adventureland and the Poly, and then Main Street and Grand Floridian, and then Tomorrowland and Contemporary. That's why they're situated. But you just kind of think, well, maybe they could have. It's a shame, because it was meant to be like a Mediterranean resort, which was meant to be sort of South Med, Italy,
Again, that would have gone on that swampy ground between the TTC and the Contemporary. But even like the Asian resort, the Grand Floridian was going to be an Asian themed resort before it became the replica of the Coronado hotel.
Yeah.
And I'd also say, on the complete reverse of what we've actually talked about, you also have the one hotel that was built, open for a little while in the Galactic Star Cruiser, and actually was it $300 million to actually build, and just shuts down, and you're thinking, how on earth that happened and was allowed to happen?
All they need to really do with that is retheme the outside and reopen it as a Star Wars themed hotel that you can book. You don't have to book these ridiculous cruise-like packages.
Yeah.
It's not an all-immersive experience. It's just a Star Wars themed hotel.
I've started wondering if there's something wrong with the infrastructure of the hotel, because it's been shut now, for 3 or 4 years?
Yeah.
And they've done literally nothing with it. I mean, it's just been shut and mothballed, and it costs so much to create. So I'm just wondering if there was actually something structurally wrong with it, that they can't use it, or... It's bizarre though, because they spent a lot of time.
It goes against that principle of building hotel rooms, and actually you just want people to fill the hotels, even if you withdrew all the Star Wars elements of it. But if you drive past it at night time as you're coming out of the studios, all of the lights are on.
This is it.
And
I'm hoping
that's what gets me. I'm not sure, Claire, but I'm thinking, hang on a minute. For a hotel that's being mothballed, it is, yeah. It's really bizarre.
They could, even if they opened it as a hotel and you could access it for, you could walk in there from Galaxy's Edge to go and have dinner, or even just like to spend a few hours there.
And vice versa, you've got another entrance into Hollywood Studios via the hotel.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
I'd love to know quite what. I think there's more to the story than we are aware of.
I think there has to be.
There can't.
And if there's not, let's start the rumour now. And I bet you will be on.
Concrete's dodgy.
We'll be on every other Disney news channel by this time, sort of next month. Is the fact that there's a problem with the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Someone like Len Tester must know what the reason is.
You would think so. Somebody
must be operationally based, right? Because anybody that ever went and did that always said that it was a really great experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you got 90% of people coming away saying, "Oh, that was rubbish." Yeah. So you must think there must be some operational thing, like the amount of actors they had to keep rotational to keep the thing going week in, week out.
But even if they changed the format, so it wasn't like you go on your cruise for 3 nights or whatever, and they just used, like Becca said, they just used it as a hotel, that would give them the extra space on site. I mean, it wasn't a massive. They could charge a premium for it, and people would stay there for 1 night, and
or 2 nights,
and they wouldn't have to do the whole immersive experience. It would just be cool to get sleep in a weird pod that looks a bit like something that was on the Millennium Falcon. Yeah. People would totally pay for that.
I know people that would pay for that.
I think it was a victim of the fact that the storyline was it was the same. It wasn't something you would want to go and repeat, because it was like, well, I'm going to get the same experience. It's just how involved I get in that will only change certain minor elements of the story. So I think once you've saturated and you've had most of the people that are willing to pay because they want to experience it, you start to see a dwindling of numbers, right? But it must have cost a lot to have kept the actors
absolutely
and rotating those people around and cover for it. And if it started tailing off in numbers, they probably were already anticipating that there was like, well, we've got, if it drops to this percent after 3 months or 6 months, then it's not going to be sustainable. I think they should just, as you say, reopen it as a themed hotel resort that you can do 1 night or 10 nights there, depending on what your budget is. Those ideas work on cruise lines, like the Star Wars themed bars. That works in Ochres, right? So I don't know why they can't just have those elements that they've had from that experience of the transfer into the park as if you are on a ship. I don't see the problem with doing that. They could just bring certain elements to it, but make it less of a fixed stay experience. Give people a little sample of what it's about and use the space.
There's a lot of Star Wars nerds out there who would totally pay for
I would pay for a night or 2 there.
Would you?
Just to say, I've stayed at the Star Wars hotel. I wouldn't pay 3-4 grand for a 3-night experience, but I'd pay 250 quid, 300 quid a night to say, I stayed there, did a couple of meet and greets tonight at the Star Wars restaurant.
I think,
you could flood it with meet and greets like they do the Marble Hotel in Paris.
Yeah.
Easy.
I think we're onto something. We're onto something here,
right.
And I think
so, John, you can be the hotel manager. Simon, do you want to be head? You want to be head of operations?
I'll just run the bar. That'll do.
To be fair, he's very good with his cocktails.
Right, you can be F&B. That's fine. I'll do head of ops, and we can make it as well. Becca, what are you going to do?
Entertainment.
Perfect.
I'll sort all the meet and greets out.
There we are.
Perfect. Yeah, done.
Sorry, give us a call, Disney. Let us know.
Yeah.
I'll even get the
Great British Mickey Waffle Hotel.
Yeah.
I'll even get the lightsaber experience back up and running. Pay a bit extra for it.
This is it. Done. Sorted.
No,
Solve them a problem.
Yeah.
But how many of those other ones have they actually announced and then cancelled? Like hotel wise, we've got all of them in between. Right, we've got Reflections that was going to be the DVC resort that they flattened the old river country and then filled in all of that and then never built the resort. Then they've got what was going to be the other half of Pop Century.
Oh,
that became art of animation. They got mothballed for years and years before.
About a decade as well.
Yeah.
See, I think they missed a trick there because they could have done like the first, like 1900 to 1930. The rooms could have been black and white. They could have Steamboat Willie and all of that. It would have been so cool.
Yeah.
But wasn't the bridge between the two? Wasn't it supposed to be bridging the decades or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, that has no relevance now because it's just a bridge that goes to Art of Animation.
Yeah.
I do like Art of Animation though. What they've done with it is really very good.
Yeah.
I think that's
to wander out.
It's the right resort for Disney. I'm sure that part of their thinking was, well, how popular has the Pop Century idea been? Do we want another replica just in different decades of music? It probably wasn't the same interest, but you can be certain everybody wants to go and stay in a Little Mermaid room. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or Lion King or Nemo. It's you know, consistently going to appeal to families, and that's the main draw, isn't it? What have we missed, Becca? There must be loads we've missed.
I'm imagining there is loads we've missed.
We haven't
Just
touched
mention-
Hollywood Studios.
We haven't touched Hollywood Studios. Mostly, I think, because I don't actually have anything written for Hollywood Studios. So,
Wasn't there meant to be a Roger Rabbit area down by?
Yeah, there's going to be like
Oh wow.
Benny's.
Benny the Cab Ride
Yeah.
and Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers. It was like all the bit that was
Is
like,
that like the Dick Tracy film with Madonna that they were referring to?
yeah, it probably was, yeah.
Yeah, in like early 90s.
Yeah,
Tracy.
with Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty and Madonna.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that. Yeah, there's a couple of songs in there that I don't think would be very Disney.
I think there's going to be a flight simulator as well, Toontown something. It was going to be like a trolley ride with Roger Rabbit driving the trolley, like Toontown Trolley or something like that. There was another one of the Roger Rabbit type things, because those bits are still in the park. That you can just see the little Eddie Valiant bit near the near Hollywood and Vine. There's just the window with the silhouette of Roger Rabbit from the
is
movie.
so cool. I love that bit.
I think Hollywood Studios is one of those that has all those little. It has loads of Easter eggs in the park. That unless you watch some of the live action films, like The Rocketeer,
you don't notice.
You don't notice those little bits that are just in the background, like the mask and the tank.
Yeah.
It's like that's behind a drinks machine that is just serving frozen drinks.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same. Unless you look up and you know that Eddie Valiant was Bob Hoskins in Roger Rabbit, you're not going to see that.
And actually, around Echo Lake, there's loads of those bits. I love it.
Yeah.
I always think that was such a great film. It was a shame that none of that ever came to Disney World.
No, I remember riding the Roger Rabbit Toontown Spin over in Disneyland.
Yeah.
That was and that was kind of like a souped up version of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, but it was fun. But yeah, Roger Rabbit was, we watched it not that long ago. Millie hadn't ever seen it. It is still an amazing movie.
I haven't seen it in years. I don't think Ben's ever seen it. It's on
Really?
my list of.
Oh wow.
I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. He'll probably turn around and tell me he has seen it, but it's been a long time since I've seen it, and I've been meaning to put it on.
It's such a clever and brilliant film, and those. The storyline's dark, but it's so brilliantly executed.
I'll show me. Age actually went to the cinema to see that, and I don't go to the cinema very often. I was actually at the cinema when it came out, so that probably ages me considerably.
Becca wasn't born then.
No, but
No, probably not.
Don't forget,
when was it out?
Natalie before she.
Early mid-80s?
No, it's later than that. I think it's like 1992.
Yeah.
Oh, I was born then. I
sometime.
would have been about 2.
91, 92, something like that, I think.
I was just born.
But, yeah, so cool. But
yeah,
yeah, that
it's
would
a
have been
great film.
brilliant.
So they have had the Oogie Boogie Bash in Disneyland. They've had a Judge Doom character, with a shoe being held over a pot of the dip.
Amazing.
So it's like one of the
Judge
walkthrough
Doom's
characters.
Such a terrifying character. I mean, Millie watching it. I mean, she's nearly 12, but she watched it and she was like this, trying not to watch. He is
Even Robin doesn't like Back to the Future because
of Christopher Lloyd.
of Christopher Lloyd.
Oh
from
wow.
him being in Roger Rabbit.
Really?
Yeah, so she can't watch that without associating it instantly with Judge Doom as a character.
Amazing. I mean, poor Christopher Lloyd, but he was just so brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant in the role.
And you sort of forget that it wasn't like that film was done with, there was nothing
there.
He had nothing there with him.
I know.
He was just acting against nothing, Bob Hoskins. It was so well made.
I think when you go in, you delve into that, and actually the actual magic of the cinema, and it was so groundbreaking at the time to have a live actor performing with the animation and for the whole film,
and just someone reading the lines back to him, and him.
You just
show how clever.
Bob Hoskins is actually quite an. I don't think people give him the actual credit for what he actually did in that film, because I think when he talks about it, he still talks about it. I don't know. I can't remember, but he certainly. I certainly don't think it doesn't get the credit simply because it's an animation, and obviously people don't take animations quite as seriously, which is wrong. But I remember, showing my age, but going back at the time, it was groundbreaking that you could actually do this, but then to keep it within that whole Disney-esque part of pushing the boundaries of what technology would allow you to do with computer-generated images, etc., was really quite a thing. And I don't think many people. It took a long time for people to actually catch up with it and actually see that.
Yeah.
The Imagineering that went into that as well.
Yeah, he won a Golden Globe. He didn't get the Oscar. I've just checked.
I think he felt probably a bit aggrieved about that.
He died in 2014, and it was just like, I think people need to go back and watch Roger Rabbit, people, if you haven't seen it.
Been a while.
Yeah,
and it landed exactly. It was exactly that right sort of time just before Hollywood Studios opened, right? So it was like prime IP to go into that park.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if a lot of the issues with the IP was that some of the IP from in that film wasn't owned by Disney.
I think that's exactly it, Becca.
There was some of that in Toontown. Yeah.
I think that's exactly it, and I think the other issue with that was the fact that it was very difficult to pin down who actually owned what.
Yeah.
And I think it would have become, if they'd have put it into the park, I think they probably would have had umpteen sort of court cases to try and get. Yeah. It's a bit of a shame.
Bud and Porky Pig are not Disney characters.
No, that's a really good one.
God, you could have done it where you got Galaxy's Edge. You could have done like the walkthrough into Toontown. Oh, it'd been so good. You could have done it like that. So you walk through like the archway, when they knock the wall down and then.
Yeah.
Or the like the slightly dodgy bit where Benny drives through. There's so many good things that could have happened that haven't.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think for all of us, and I think this is something to just bear in mind, is the fact that even now, you go into a park and you're looking and you're trying to. You think what could have been, what's there now, what was there previously, and you're still in your own mind. I certainly know I am. But you're trying to reimagine exactly what can still happen in the future, and that's part of the fun of it. It's not maybe not something that everybody else does or sees, but you're trying to, in the way you're trying to envisage where maybe the next 50 years would take us, and what can go into certain parts, what could be in certain spaces that for us looking at it appears like wasted area, and. I don't know, it just adds to the fun. Yeah.
It does always feel like that, though. That if you ever go and read anything about Disney parks and things, if you wander around a Disney park and you think this looks like a weird wasted space, there's probably a story about something that should have gone in there that never came.
Yeah, I agree with it.
Like Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood Studios, that was where they were going to have all of that Roger Rabbit's Hollywood bit. And that Sunset Boulevard, even the little stalls they've got there are like the red car trolleys.
Yeah.
Which, if anybody that's been to California Adventure knows, they've got a red car trolley that actually goes along the street there. And I think that's what's absolutely missing from Hollywood Studios, which is kind of a weird thing that they never had that red car trolley there. But you kind of know that, well, they would have put one there had they have ever done the Roger Rabbit's Hollywood. But yeah, it's. I think there's always a reason that the park might look weird in a certain place, like it's missing something. It probably is, and they've never built it.
Yeah. That's spot on.
Or they take stuff away, right? Like I don't know why they ever took it away. The railroad, for instance, at Fort Wilderness. They used to have a little steam train that used to run around the resort. I'm not sure why you would ever get rid of something like that.
Because you can make money from hiring golf buggies.
But would you have had that in the 70s and 80s?
No.
You get everyone to pay $2 to ride the train, and then you easily make up the money.
Yeah.
They should just put that back. Should put something back that's like that.
Yeah.
The bus arrangement of that place is
the most
weird.
frustrating thing in the world.
Oh,
just sit there and wait for 25 minutes, and then one comes and just ignores you. Think, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know which bus I'm supposed to be
And
getting.
when you get on the bus, you have no idea
No
where
idea.
you're going.
No idea.
You could be going anywhere or everywhere, actually, is most often. It's not. It's like going to go around every loop that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't have a car and you're going to Fort Wilderness, get the boat from Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
It'll drop you off probably closer to where you want to be. A little bit closer.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Too right.
So, has anyone else got any thoughts or?
I think let's put it out to people. If you want to add your memories or your ideas, join us in the Waffler's Arms. Share your thoughts, share your own imagineering, and then obviously we'll come back to it. Even we'll share it with other people next week as well. In the meantime, Simon and Robin are going to be on the west coast of the USA. So again, we're going to be mightily jealous of those guys when we're here in the freezing British cold next Wednesday. Just saying, like.
You forgot wet, John.
Yeah.
Wet.
Oh, it's horrible.
It doesn't matter how awful it is here. It's still better than Florida at the moment.
It is.
So,
It is. I think as we're wrapping up, let's just we send our thoughts to everyone that's over there just now, irrespective of whether you're on holiday, whether you're at home. Just please stay safe, stay warm as much as you can, and just stay out of trouble, because actually, the next 24, 48 hours is going to be possibly the most challenging that you'll ever come across.
Yeah.
So, as John said a minute ago, keep safe, everyone that is out in Florida. And in the meantime, you can keep the conversation going on our socials at GB Mickey Waffle, or as John mentioned, in the Waffler's Arms. Don't forget, all of our podcasts are available on all of the major podcast platforms. Say that fast 5 times.
You're going for a new set of teeth for next week, I think.
No.
That's it.
We are also right here on YouTube, as always. So whether you're on the go or just looking for a little bit of Disney magic, we're always here to waffle on about our favourite place. So stay safe, take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time. And I will try and put my teeth back in for next week.
Absolutely. Stay safe, everyone.
Now my wheels